getting a look at Deuce McBride. It was an interesting strategic fulcrum because with Karl-Anthony Towns a season ago, the most effective offensively you can be with Karl-Anthony Towns is if he's at the 5 and you have 5-out spacing. And that opens things up for his drive, forces the center to guard him because you have to put this center on either him or a shooter, and opens things up for guys like Brunson and Anunoby and Bridges to get into the paint. McBride was the guy who would have created those lineups, and Tom Thibodeau elected not to go to those groups because McBride's a much better shooter than Josh Hart. Josh Hart, probably a better player overall, but he did change things so you could put your center on Hart and not Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, those lineups are going to be pretty defensively challenged if you've got McBride playing the 2 next to Brunson, and of course he also has to come in and do some backup point guard work. But I have been very pleased with the way McBride is able to improve his shooting. You see there 42% from downtown this season.
It was mandatory for McBride to work his way into a player who could theoretically close games for a high-level team. And I'm not saying he'll necessarily do that every night. And McBride is going to have his hands full because he's going to have to try to make those open shots, but also take on some of the tough defensive assignments. McBride is, I think he can, as you mentioned, he's somebody who can push the Knicks to another level. Not saying that he does that by playing 35 minutes a game, but by giving them another element, by giving them something that other teams have to counter. And making opponents uncomfortable is one of my favorite elements that a player can bring to the table. There are a lot of different ways you can do it, and I think Deuce does a couple of them.
Back to McBride, really came out of West Virginia as just a defensive guard. And you see he's put in work like this over the course of his career. Knicks signed him to a great value contract before he even entered the rotation. And that was a great move by the Knicks front office to give them a quality contributor who they desperately need given some of the big salaries on the roster.